This is a heart-wrenching 911 call to the Boulder police. Our daughter is missing. She's been taken from her room. The kidnappers have left a note. So begins the terrible tale of the most famous little crime victim since the Lindbergh baby. Local Boulder police respond immediately to the 911 call, but upon arrival at the home make a curiously incomplete search. They've apparently bought into the notion that the child has been taken away. The purported ransom note indicates a time in which the Ramseys will receive a call from the kidnapper. The call never comes. Shortly after 1 o'clock in the afternoon, John Ramsey and his friend, a wealthy oil executive named Fleet White, are searching the basement. Inside a closed and windowless room, one Ramsey reportedly seems reluctant to open. The child's lifeless body, bound and battered, is found. At 10:45 that evening, she leaves her parents' home for the last time, sealed in a black bag. Boulder County Coroner John Meyer later says, quote, "The cause of death is asphyxia due to strangulation. The manner of death is homicide." The Ramseys announced they are putting together their own investigation and post a $50,000 reward for the killer of their child. December 29th, a memorial service is held for Jean-Benet at St. John's Episcopal Church in Boulder. Later that day, the family flies in a private jet to suburban Atlanta, Georgia. December 31st, funeral services are held for Jean-Benet at Peachtree Presbyterian Church. Burial is at St. James Episcopalian Cemetery, where the child is interred in the family plot, next to her half-sister, Elizabeth, who was killed in a car crash 5 years before. January 1st, CNN airs an interview with the Ramseys, who are breaking their silence for the first and only time, cooperating with a television interviewer, but not the cops. Mrs. Ramsey warns the residents of Boulder to, quote, "Keep your babies close to you. There's someone out there." But is there really?
There is a killer on the loose. I don't know who it is. I don't know if it's a he or a she. But if I were a resident of Boulder, I will tell my friends to keep your baby close to you.
January 22nd, reports indicate that John Ramsey's 1995 bonus of $118,000 matches exactly the amount sought in the ransom note. March 28th, the Ramsey legal team faces a deadline to decide whether they will observe the examination of the DNA testing. A day later, they declined. April 11th, Patsy Ramsey agrees to provide investigators with a fourth sample of her handwriting, this time using both her right and her left hands. April 16th, Boulder police ask for an unprecedented fifth handwriting sample from the mom. April 19th, Boulder District Attorney Alex Hunter acknowledges what we have been reporting since the beginning, that the parents are the focus of his murder investigation. May 1st, the Ramseys finally give police their long-awaited formal interview, more than 4 months after their 6-year-old daughter was found murdered in their basement. The next day, they go on national television and proclaim, "We did not do it."
To those of you who may want to ask, let me address very directly, I did not kill my daughter, Jean-Benet.
The Ramseys also vow to catch their daughter's killer.
You may be eluding the authorities for a time, but God knows who you are, and we will find you.
July 1st, the Boulder police return to the Ramsey home and spend the day taking measurements to build an architectural model of the crime scene. July 10th, investigators hired by the Ramseys develop a theory linking Psalm 118 to the $118,000 demanded in the ransom note. July 28th, the Ramseys investigative team distributes flyers that detail a possible profile of Jean-Benet's killer. They also run a full-page ad appealing to the public for help in solving this terrible crime. August 14th, the previously undisclosed portion of the autopsy is finally released under court order. It tells how the beautiful child's body was found clothed in a long-sleeved white T-shirt bearing a silver sequined star. It also indicates that Jean-Benet had been sexually assaulted. September 3rd, the purported ransom note is made public. The 370-word note written by the little girl's supposed kidnapper states, quote, "Any deviation of my instructions will result in the immediate execution of your daughter." September 10th, Boulder authorities travel to the FBI Academy in Quantico, Virginia. Over 2 days, they compare notes with experts from the FBI's Child Abduction and Serial Killer Unit. All parties pronounced the meeting fruitful, although we have yet to see evidence to cause optimism that this troubling case will ever be solved. We heard Jim Marino, a man questioned by the Boulder authorities himself, suggest that John Ramsey could not have committed this crime. It's just not in his nature, that he's ready, willing, and able to allow the case to go wherever the evidence takes him. Jane Stobie is another former employee of John Ramsey's. Jane has an entirely different take. I want to get her initial response to what we've seen so far in the program, and then we'll continue on with more from JonBenét's grandmom and from our guests who join us via satellite from Colorado. Jane, why do you think this couple guilty?
I don't know that they're guilty, but I believe that there's the potential there. I think one of the things that surprised me the most about this case was when I found out there'd been a murder, I wasn't surprised. And usually when you hear that there's a murder of someone you know, I mean, there's shock, et cetera, but I wasn't surprised.
Were you surprised when the family was fingered as the potential suspects?
No.
Why not?
This is hard for me to talk about, but I think it's also very important to talk about it. I have a different perspective. I observed some things when I was working for the company, and specifically when Nedra Paul and Paulette Davis, Patsy's sister, were working for me in Atlanta, that led me to suspect that there was a lot of dysfunction occurring in this family that potentially could lead to something that would be very bad.
Examples?
Well, I think one of the examples was one of the employees told me that Nedra and Paulette had been talking to the other employees about the size of John Ramsey's son's private parts, and were almost acting like it was a badge of honor. And I don't think that's appropriate.
The 10-year-old kid's penis size?
Yes. And I thought that was very bizarre and inappropriate. And on another occasion, Paulette Davis talked to a black gentleman who used to work for the company, and I was there to personally witness this, and made some comments about oral sex that, as a manager, I was shocked. Number one, I thought maybe, you know, there would be could be a lawsuit, et cetera, but it was just very inappropriate behavior. And I also noticed that there was a lot of enmeshment between the daughters and Nedra. I believe that Nedra called a lot of the shots. And
that little old lady, the grandma?
Well, I think that we all have a public persona, and then there's another persona people have. And my experience was that there was another side to these folks.
Jim, do you want to briefly comment, and I'll talk to you at greater length and depth in the next segment?
Well, Geraldo, excuse me, I'm a Christian. I don't believe that we should judge one another. And I knew John Ramsey intimately for 22 years. He came to my rescue twice. Once when I was in a wheelchair and laid up in Florida. He came down to see me and gave me a job, and we started a business together. And then 10 years later, when my wife and I were financially distraught, I called him up, and he immediately gave me a job with Access Graphics. And also one other incident where we were supporting a Centauros High School paraplegic, quadriplegic, who needed therapy, and my wife and I had a bake sale, and we raised $350 or so. I went into John, I said, John, would you match these funds? Without hesitation, he opened up his checkbook and wrote a check. All I'm trying to say to you is that he had a heart. A man that has a heart can't do something like this. What they've been portraying about John Ramsey in the tabloids has been unfair. It's not the man that I've known for 22 years.
Do I note your omission of Patsy by chance, or do you omit to include her in your could not have done this intentionally?
I didn't know Patsy as well as Jane knew the family.
So you're not including Patsy in your...
That's the Paw family. I knew